Styled, yes. Kerned, never. Hey friends, welcome to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Tirso and I'm a creative director based in New York City. Expanding your skills as a designer isn't just about learning new technical skills. It's also about practicing good habits. Your habits affect how you design as well as the end results of your projects. We've all heard that practice makes perfect, but if you practice bad habits, all you become is great at bad habits. This isn't something that I see talked about often when it comes to design education online, so here I am, just the guy with a hope and a dream. How I lead my teams is through an approach called the broken window effect. You could just say be detail-oriented, but it's really only one aspect of it. The broken window effect basically says that visible signs of crime, such as broken windows, encourages more crime. I'll leave the crime to Detective Benson on SVU, but think of this more like those rage rooms. You don't have to worry about ruining anything because everything is already ruined, but you wouldn't take a sledgehammer to a brand new car. So how does this apply to you? There are always broken windows in our design process, no matter what level you're at. If you take a shortcut in one area, you really allow yourselves to take shortcuts in other areas. In particular, when we use a hack for something real quick, we then use other hacks because it worked the first time. You end up with a bunch of hacks and you never learn the skills necessary to set yourself up for success. I don't want this video to have a negative context to it, but really consider this as areas of opportunity for your growth as a designer. The more broken windows you fix, the less likely for other broken windows to occur. In the graphic design industry, process-based offenses are considered especially heinous. In New York City, there's a dedicated creative director who finds and fixes the broken windows of designers who don't know what they're doing. These are their stories. I had an art director who would show me her layouts, but she wasn't kerning her display type. Styled, yes. Kerned, never. Her reasoning was that she would just kern at the end since the copy wasn't final. Now, some of you may find nothing wrong with this. I mean, she was gonna kern at the end anyway, so it's fine, right? Wrong, which is the point of this video. Our primary job as designers is to communicate information, and the largest part of that communication is through text. So that is where we should spend a majority of our time. Her broken window was not setting her type as she designed. Her type solutions were extremely limited because she wasn't interacting enough with letters to explore other possibilities. So how do we fix this broken window? I made it a point to no longer review any layouts unless all the headlines were kerned properly. Every time I saw something not kerned, I would just send her back to her desk. When she finally got into the habit, I started to notice that her rags were better, there were less widows and orphans, and then eventually I started seeing more type options from her because she didn't need to allocate time at the end in order to go back and fix everything. We fixed one broken window and ended up fixing others along the way. This isn't limited to her as an individual. As an art director, she wasn't setting a good example for the junior designers. Additionally, this might stem from her previous creative directors that allowed her to design in this way, or maybe she learned it from their process. I don't know, but now you know to kern your type. When I first started my career, I was a workaholic. Condé Nast back in the day was no joke. I was completely overwhelmed with the amount of work I was given. I would try to be productive by limiting time for smaller tasks and then blocking time for the larger tasks. I wanted a break, and the only way I thought I could get it was to get everything done. My broken window here was exactly that. I thought I would get a break when everything was done, but the reality is something will always be added to the list, the break never comes, and that is the fastest way to burn out. How I fixed this was by deciding to take a full hour lunch break every day for the entire week, and everything still got done, even on the busiest days. By deciding to take a longer lunch break, I ended up learning how fast I could work. I knew how long it would take me to design a website, put together a layout, or brand some type lockups. We all complain that timelines are too short, but we also know that we get things done in the exact amount of time that we have to do it. If your deadline is at 5 o'clock, you can start at 10 o'clock and you'll finish by 5, but if you start at 3 o'clock, you'll also finish by 5. The pay is the same, so why not take the break? They say that if you give someone an inch, they'll take a mile. Well, all of a sudden, my perspective completely changed. Sometimes I would take longer than an hour, or I would take a second break in the afternoon for that cookie that I wanted. I also was notorious for coming in late because I wanted to go to a sample sale. This is completely reckless, and I'm sure it's not the best advice, but in order for it to work, you really have to establish that you can get the work done in less time without sacrificing quality. Just like the last example, this broken window extends into other areas. There's an episode of Mad Men where Don Draper is struggling for an idea on a cigarette campaign. He's sitting at a restaurant, writing some things down on a napkin. He even asks the waiter to try to get some ideas, but no cigar. Pun intended. He ends up leaving the restaurant and goes to sleep with his mistress. What a hooker. And goes about things the next day. He enters a meeting without an idea, and then it comes to him. The point is, he took a break, his brain was subconsciously thinking about the project, and then eventually arrived at a solution. Don't just take a break during the day. Go on a nice vacation. Travel opens up a lot of inspiration, and without inspiration, we run out of ideas. The advertisements on the street are probably different from the ads that you see in the city you live in. Maybe there's some typography that you like. It can be from buildings or even restaurant menus. I actually just got back from a trip to Rome, and everywhere I went, I would take photos of type. This gives me research for inspiration that I can't find locally or online. A lovely quote from an old boss of mine: "I don't need you tomorrow, I need you next year, so don't burn out on me." Take the break, you need it. I could go on and on about all the broken windows we all face. This can be difficult if you don't have a creative director or a mentor that points these things out to you, but I just wanted to shed some light on it because I've had a lot of success helping other designers find their own success. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. I think the best way for growth is to be 1% better every single day. So think about the direction your habits are steering your pathway and really try to fix those broken windows. Drop a comment below on what broken windows you're dealing with. If this was helpful, I can certainly turn it into a series and advise you just like I would my teams. See you next time.